Welcome, folks, to the show. My name is John Robert Cruz, and today I have the privilege and the honor to interview none other than Sifu Leo Fong, a world-renowned martial artist, an ordained minister, and a filmmaker who has been around the worldwide martial arts community for many, many years. Welcome, Mr. Fong, Sifu Fong.
Thank you. I'm glad to be on the program.
It's a pleasure to be in your presence, sir. A lot of people read your website with your Fong line, and they get a lot of inspiration. And I want to just ask you a couple of questions so the audience can get a feel for where you're at, where you've been, where you're at, and where you're going, sir.
It's great.
Tell me, where were you born, sir?
I was born in Canton, China, 1928, November 23rd, 1928, and now they call it Kwangtung.
Okay, Kwangtung.
Yeah, it's a little small village called Sunwui and Gujiang. So those Cantonese will understand where it is. And I came to the United States May the 1st, 1934. I was 5 years old.
5 years old.
And I went to remember when we landed, we were detained for about 2 weeks in Seattle, and then we went to Chicago to meet my uncle, my mother's brother, and he took me out to the 1934 World's Fair in Chicago. I can still remember that.
Wow, okay. So you got here when you were 5 years old. So you went to school in the United States?
Yeah. I 5 years old, went to Chicago, and then I met my father there because he was working in my uncle's restaurant. Then we moved down to Widener, Arkansas, a little town about 100 people. But a lot of African Americans there working in the cotton fields. And when you come into Widener, it says, "Welcome to Widener, population 100," or something like that. But they didn't count all the African American population. There must have been 500 of those.
Wow.
Yeah, you see, so my father bought a little grocery store there, and so we settled in Widener, and 2 years later, I was 7 years old, and then went to school in Widener, little wooden schoolhouse.
Wooden schoolhouse?
Yeah, and that's where I started my martial arts journey.
At what age was that start of your martial arts journey?
7 years old. People start teasing me, calling me racial slurs, making racial slurs, and I didn't know that. You see, when I came home, my father said, "How was school?" I said, "Great." People were singing to me. I said, "What were they singing?" They were dancing around at recess time, singing Ching Chong Chinaman. And so he got really upset. He said, "You know, they don't like you. They were singing racial slurs." I said, "Oh, really?" So the next day I went back, and my teacher organized a recess organized a softball game, and she wanted me to play first base. So a little kid hits a run, comes to the first base, looks at me and said, "Chink," and without any hesitation I said, "Pop!" Down he went. Next thing I know, I was in the air being spanked. The teacher had me pick me up and had me in the air spanking me. And then they punished me by making me stand in the hallway for 2 days, and people come by and say, "Shame on you, you bad boy," all that. But when I went home, I made a resolve that I wasn't going to run and leave school like my father did. When they teased him in Indiana, he went to school in Indiana, Gary, Indiana. He left and never went back. But for some reason, I said, "I want to go back," and so I started punch out anybody who would call me names. And then when I was about 10 or 11 years old, I picked up a book I saw in Montgomery Ward, Fundamental Boxing by Barney Ross.
Barney Ross was a famous champion?
Oh yeah, monkey on my back. He went to World War II, got hooked on drugs and for pain, and they came out with a movie, Monkey on My Back. And starring Cameron Mitchell, and Cameron Mitchell later became a personal friend of mine, and he introduced me to my present wife.
Wow.
So it's really interesting connection there. But anyway, I studied the book from cover to cover, and I learned to use a left jab, And so when I got into a fight and they were swinging haymakers, I was sticking them with the jab. And then cross the right and down they go and I take off running. So
1-2, huh?
So that was my martial arts journey. So I went through my teens and high school days fighting about every week. And then finally when I got called to ministry when I was 16 years old. So then when I went to college, I found out that Hendrix College in Conway, Arkansas is a Methodist school. They had a boxing team, and I joined it, and I got my first formal boxing lesson.
Right.
And so when they disbanded the boxing team the next year, I joined the boxing team at the local National Guard. They sponsored a boxing team. And so in my amateur career, I had about 25 fights. I won 23. Got knocked out twice, and so that is
that was the foundation
for my martial arts journey. And so when I graduated from seminary in Dallas, Texas, in 1954.
So you studied to become a minister?
Minister, yes. So I got my BA degree in physical education and religion. I went to seminary to get my master's in theology at Southern Methodist University. So in 1954, the bishop appointed me to a Methodist church in Sacramento, California. And my first exposure to traditional martial art was jiu-jitsu.
So your beginnings was in boxing.
In boxing.
And then a traditional Asian-based
martial arts was 1954, 55. I saw a sign at a Vallis Yolanda dance studio that says lessons in jiu-jitsu. So I went up there and checked and said, what's jiu-jitsu all about? And there was a guy there named Bill Luke, and he had trained under a guy named, what's his name, Tegner, Bruce Tegner.
He passed away a while.
Yeah, a long time away from Ventura. He wrote a bunch of books.
Right.
Well, he was Bruce Tegner's student, and so he was a black belt. I asked him about it. He said, you're welcome to join the class. So I trained under him for about a year, and then finally moved to Southern California to run a Vallis Yolanda dance studio. You know, at that time, Vallis Yolanda and Arthur Murray were two big studios.
Right.
And so then I went over to the Sacramento YMC, Sacramento, California YMC, and I joined the judo club. And I got a green belt out of that. And then while I was speaking in the church in San Francisco at an African-American church, I said, today I'm going to find me a Kung Fu school, because nobody would tell you. In the 50s, everybody's a secret, you see.
Kung Fu was a secret.
Oh yeah, karate, Kung Fu, you didn't even know what karate was. People thought it was a food or something, you know. so anyway, I went down to Chinatown and I saw an old man standing on Grant Street, and I said to him in my broken Chinese, I said, I'm looking for a couple of Kung Fu schools there. He said, well, there's one down there and one up there. I said, which is best? He said, well, it's up to you. He said, the old man runs it down there, and the younger guy runs it up there. And so I went down. I said, well, old man might be better. So I went down there. There's a basement. I walked down the basement. It was smelly. And you could see there was a sandbag hanging there about like that. It looked like people had been beating on it because it got blood on it, got all kinds of dirt on it. And so I said, Sifu. And then nobody answered me. And I heard water running. So I went to this little room. There was a little guy about 5'2", real wrinkled up, shaving. So I said, are you Sifu? And he said, yes. And he was Sifu Lo Bun, Grand Master of Choi Lei Fut Kung Fu.
Okay.
So he said, what do you want? And I said, I want to learn Kung Fu. So he asked me why, and he grilled me, you know. And I did the best I could. Sometimes I would mix Chinese and English. And he was totally all Chinese.
Which is interesting because you dominated English in your youth.
Yeah.
You were raised here.
Yeah, but I knew a lot of Chinese, which I don't now.
Interesting.
I don't use it, so I forgot it.